I'd like to welcome Bessie Carter and James Purefoy to Sidewalks Entertainment. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello.
Hello, it's a great pleasure to be with you this morning. Thank you very much for having us.
So, Bessie, apart from your work in the series Outrageous, many of us are big fans of your work in the series Bridgerton as Prudence Featherington. What do you enjoy most about playing Prudence and working on that series?
Oh, well, I just loved how annoying she was. I just loved how mean and snobby and rude she was. It was absolutely delicious to do that. And then, in series three, she then has a little bit of an arc where you see her see the error of her ways and try to be different. And I liked that sort of, the arc of that. But I mean, also just the costumes. It was like I was wearing a wedding cake every day. I felt like a princess. I mean, I took selfies like every day because I was like, I'm never going to wear things like this again. So it was, yeah, it was a delight.
And James, I'm a huge fan of some of the earlier roles that you've played. Rodden Crawley in the movie Vanity Fair. Ah, my heart. And I also enjoyed your character, Spence Parks in Resident Evil, and a little bit more recently, A Discovery of Witches as Lord Philippe de Clermont. These are just some really great roles that you've played in the past. You're very versatile. Which character type or genre would you like to do more of if given the opportunity?
Oh, that's always a good question. I think I can very clearly see my career now as because I'm getting on a bit now, and I can see that the first 10 years I spent in blouson shirts and in breeches, and then for another 10 years I was welded to a sword. And then I played psychopaths and billionaires, and there's not much difference between psychopaths or billionaires. And now I just play gods and kings,
Oh my
which
God.
which is not so bad, is it? So
And dads.
and dads. So as long as I can play more dads, more gods, more kings, I'll be happy.
Great answer.
Oh, I love it. So both of you have also worked in theater. Have you ever crossed paths in the theater circle before, or have you two worked together before working together on the series Outrageous?
No, we hadn't worked
We
together.
no, we hadn't, which is a surprise because there's only five actors in England, so it's strange that we haven't worked together.
Never say never, though. It could
It
happen.
could happen at any moment. It would be a delight because she's marvelous.
Well, likewise.
Oh, so sweet. So, the series Outrageous is based on the lives of the famous Mitford sisters from the 1930s. Bessie, you play the eldest Mitford sister, Nancy, and James, of course, you play their father, David Freeman Mitford. Bessie, being that Nancy is based on a real person, how did you prepare for the role of Nancy? And how would you describe her personality and her role amongst the sisters?
Well, obviously, because they were a real family, there's a lot of information out there about them. So there were a lot of books that I read. I reread a lot of her own writing. She was an esteemed author. I'd actually narrated The Pursuit of Love, so I didn't need to reread that because I'd already recorded it. And I tried to listen to it again, and I was like, no, I can't listen to myself. And then I suppose there's a lot of, images, and we worked a lot with the costume designer who came up with, what each character's sort of colors would be and types of material. And then you sort of have to leave all of that and then just work with the script. And that was then my sort of, my Bible was looking at this script and this story and trying to look underneath the words at, her, like you said, her sort of personality, her essence. And something that Sarah Williams, our amazing writer, said to me very early on was Nancy was never a victim. She never saw herself as a victim or felt like a victim. And that was a really strong thread to hold on to. And I suppose I connected to her sense of humor, her confidence that also treads a thin line with vulnerability. And I think that's what was written so well was most of the time people who like being in the spotlight also like being in the shadows just as much. And so I liked finding that line and tracking that arc. And then just, trusting the script after doing all the research.
And James, you play the father of the famous Mitford sisters. what's your experience been like playing David Freeman Mitford, and what did you enjoy most about working on this series?
Oh, I mean, my experience was glorious. I had a lovely time doing this job. Really, for me, the best thing about it was working with these six actresses, and my wife, who's played by Anna Chancellor, and my son, the son played by a guy called Toby, and Toby, was it Toby?
Yeah, it's definitely
It is
Toby
Toby.
Regbo.
Yes, it is Toby
Yeah.
Regbo. Yes,
Rains Toby Regbo.
yes, yeah. But so working with all of them and watching them come up with these extraordinary characters was such a pleasure every single day, because each of them was so deftly drawn and so beautifully done and utterly individual and yet clearly from the same family. So creating those family dynamics, it's always interesting doing that, and especially when you've got a script that is so quick-witted and dense and textured and a delight to play, that just every day was a joy going into work. It wasn't even work.
No, it was a glorious summer,
It was
wasn't
just
it?
play. We were just playing all the time, which, you know, for a man in his late middle age to be going into work and actually not working at all and just playing is a delight in itself.
Oh, it sounds like so much fun. I want to play too. Well, both of you are just so incredibly talented and so fantastic. Thank you so much for taking time to speak with me today.
No, you're more than
thank you
welcome.
very
Thank you for your
much.
lovely questions. Really interesting. Thank you.
Yeah.
Everyone, be sure to watch Bessie Carter and James Purefoy in the series Outrageous on Britbox. James, Bessie, you guys take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.